We further explore the Messerfechten as depicted in the Codex Wallerstein.
This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed.
We've recently started to look into Messerfechten as shown in the Codex Wallerstein, and we had a look at the first few plays already. We saw that one of them was resembling a play that we know from the Talhoffer Fecht books, but two of them differed from the earlier known ones. We continue now with the next two plays, and the first of these two again has a resemblance to a technique shown in the Talhoffer Fecht books, but only in one aspect and it differs in another one, so we can explore that a bit further. We get an attack from angle 1 and deflect it not with a Zornhut or Wacht, but instead with an Einhorn. And now the left arm circles anti-clockwise around the arm of the opponent, trapping the messer of the opponent under the own arm. That is similar to the technique as shown in the Talhoffer Fechtbuch, yet there the deflection was with a Zornhut and then it was followed by a stab from above. As we just performed the technique, our messer is in fact trapped behind the messer of the opponent. To free it, we can attack the side of the opponent and move the messer up behind the arm of the opponent and place it in front of the neck of the opponent. If we look at that carefully, we can recognize this is in fact a figure 4 type of arm lock. Interestingly, our first trapping of the messer is also a figure 4 type arm lock, so we have combined two of these arm locks here. If we talk in Japanese terms, the first one would usually be referred to as mushadori or goshadori, the second one as onikudaki. So this one is an interesting combination of two techniques. The exact execution in the end, whether this would be used to perform a cut at the neck or really as a arm bar, arm lever, arm key technique to bring the opponent down, is a matter of how exactly the blade is placed, in which direction the edge is placed when performing the technique. While this looks now like a very complex technique, we can recognize that the principle, especially of the second part, could be used also separately as a disarm, and it's well established in Filipino martial arts that this move, so what I refer to here in Japanese as onikodaki, can be used as a simple disarming technique. Depending on the orientation when deflecting, we can use the blade or the handle for the disarm. We have seen that also with other techniques from the Codex Wallerstein, that we can vary this use. So we could, for example, deflect an incoming attack in angle 1 with a Wacht, lock the blade of the opponent close to the handle where it's less sharp or directly at the handle with the left hand, fold the own blade up behind the blade of the opponent, and now disarm around this blade. You can see this is the same arrangement as with the depicted technique, so it's a derived form, but it uses the same principle and works very well for disarming. Alternatively, we can keep deflecting with an Einhorn, again lock the blade and then flip the handle in the same position as we just had the blade. Disarm now with the handle. This is a very fast and short way of disarming and therefore very effective in free play, for example, also. Again, this is not directly depicted, but basically derived from what we could see in this one technique. So we can only assume that such a detail was known, but the principle was definitely known, and the application shown here is well established in modern weapon fighting. The next play in the Codex Wallerstein is in fact rather simple concerning the motions, but it's an important one. We again get an attack in angle 1. We take in the attack with a Halbschwert position. Yes, we are using a messer, but we can still do Halbschwert, so half sword. The left hand is grabbing the blade, and this is easier with a messer than with a sword, in fact, because we have the dull side then resting on the palm, which is less problematic. Again, the fingers and the thumb can press against the flat side of the blade to have a good grip. We perform a Wacht position, so right hand is in front. The force of the blade of the opponent goes onto the flat side of our Messer. As there is excessive force coming in, we redirect the force, so we make a step left forward and end up in a variant of the Flug position. We now take another step forward and place the left forearm and the tip of the blade close to the neck of the opponent. The right hand should be lowered to lock away the Messer of the opponent in a secure way. The exact execution of this technique can vary quite a bit depending on how the edge of the own Messer is exactly placed. And you will see with the half sword, Halbschwert position, you can choose to put the edge, the sharp edge of the Messer against the neck of the opponent. And then, of course, this would be used to cut the opponent, but it's also possible to take the back of the Messer closer to the neck and then, or the flat side also against the neck. And then we have in fact two options. We can either perform a scissoring type of choke. That would also be possible with the sharp edge to support the cut and by this control the opponent. Or we can use the entire structure as a hook on the neck and perform a backward throw. So bring the opponent to the ground and then secure the opponent. Both options, or all of these options, are valid and work. The same technique can be found, for example, with Halbschwert with a sword. We'll link a video in the description box. Or you can also perform this with a stick. So for example, with a hanbo, this would be a very, very common technique. In fact, it's one of the super simple techniques that you can perform, and it's no surprise that we find something like that in the old Fechtbücher. The principal mechanic here is rather easy understandable. It's a stable way of protecting yourself against the attack. It's a simple way of getting the force redirected, so without having to deal with it. And then it's a very short way, and the situation in principle would also be possible to simply perform a stab with the tip of the Messer and end the situation in this way. With this, we have now further expanded our techniques with the Messerfechten. You can find the techniques we have discussed so far linked in the description box, including the other techniques from the Codex Wallerstein, but also the earlier discussed techniques from the Talhoffer Fechtbücher. We will have at least 2 more videos from the Codex Wallerstein to cover all these Messerfechten techniques, but we've also further explored other Fechtbücher and we will continue this aspect of Messerfechten in future videos. With this, we hope we could inspire you and hope to see you around next time.